a cliche version of every wife's waking nightmare. You have to.
I can't believe I have a crush on a girl with such cliche wishes.
And trying to break the cliche, not using actors, real people, use villagers.
Hey, welcome to TalkWord. This is the show where we get into the real stories behind the words we use every day. And today, oh man, we're diving into just one word. A word that was used in the middle of a total crisis, and it just perfectly summed up an entire viral internet scandal.
Isn't it wild how sometimes just one single word can pack more punch than a whole essay? Especially when things get, well, complicated and messy, and it's all happening right out in the open for everyone to see? We're going to look at the exact word one woman reached for when her private life suddenly became a massive public show.
And here it is. This is the quote that kicked this whole thing off. It's from Kristen Cabot. You might remember her. She was at the center of that now infamous Coldplay kiss cam incident. This is exactly what she said to describe her life blowing up online. And trust me, her choice of words, it tells us everything.
So, that brings us to the big question for today, right? What did she really mean by cliché in that moment? Because let's be real, she wasn't just talking about some cheesy line from a movie. No, she was getting at something way deeper, something about shame and regret and this horrible feeling of being predictable. So, yeah, let's break this down.
Okay, so before we can really get into the word itself, we have to get the backstory. You gotta understand what actually happened. So let's rewind and take a look at the incident that started this whole firestorm.
All right, so set the scene with me. It's a Coldplay concert in Massachusetts. We're talking a massive public event. Thousands and thousands of people packed in. And of course, the cameras are everywhere, including the one that feeds the big screen, for the kiss cam.
So who's involved? We've got Kristen Cabot. She's the head of HR for a tech company called Astronomer. And with her is Andy Byron, who happens to be her boss, the CEO. They're at this concert when, bam, the kiss cam lands right on them. It catches this one little moment that the internet just instantly ran with, calling it a viral affair.
Now, Cabot didn't really shy away from what happened. She later came out and basically owned it, saying she made a bad decision after having a couple of drinks and, acting inappropriately with her boss. So she wasn't making excuses, she saw it as a major screw-up.
And the consequences? They were just brutal and immediate. The video goes viral that July. The company actually asks her to come back, but she feels like she just can't. She basically gives up her career over this. A couple months later, by September, she and her boss have barely spoken. And then by December, she's speaking out, not just about what happened, but about the nonstop harassment she and even her kids were getting. Just awful.
Okay, so now that you have the whole messy backstory, let's go back to that phrase, that one little phrase she used, because this is really the core of what we're talking about today.
Listen again to how she frames it. It's not just about the act itself. The real horror for her, the thing she points to, is the roles. I'm the head of HR and he's the CEO. She immediately knew that they had just walked right into a tired, old, predictable story.
So when she says cliché, she's not talking about a phrase. She's talking about a storyline. It's that sinking, horrified feeling you get when your personal, private mistake becomes this common, predictable, and just deeply embarrassing story that everyone feels like they've heard a million times.
We can actually map out the different parts of her cliché, right? Step 1, you've got the classic roles, the boss and the subordinate. Step 2, you've got that hidden feeling, which she called a happy crush. And step 3, it all explodes in a very public, very inappropriate moment. It's like a bad movie script, and she suddenly realized she was the star.
Okay, so clearly for her, this word was loaded with personal meaning. It was emotional. Now, for a second, let's just zoom out and look at the word cliché in a more, academic sense. Like, what would a dictionary tell us?
So, formally, a cliché is a noun, and it's basically any phrase or idea or even a plot point that's been used so many times that it's just lost all its original power. It just feels lazy or unoriginal. Things like happily ever after or it is what it is. We all know them. So let's just compare those two for a second. You've got the official meaning on one side, an unoriginal phrase used in writing or art. Kind of dry, right? But then you've got Cabot's emotional meaning, the absolute nightmare of your real life turning into a predictable, shameful storyline. Wow. That gap between the two is just huge.
And that's really the key takeaway here. The word cliché was the absolute perfect word to capture the specific horror she was feeling. It wasn't just, oh no, I made a mistake. It was, oh no, I made a mistake that feels like it was written for a bad TV show. It was the stereotypical, scripted nature of it that made it so embarrassing.
So let's wrap this up. What do we learn from digging this deep into one single powerful word choice?
I think it's this. Really, truly understanding a word means going way beyond what you find in the dictionary. It's about getting the context, the story behind it, and the raw human emotion that's packed inside it. A word is never just a word, you know? It's a vessel, a container for so much meaning.
So maybe the next time you're searching for the right word, think about the story you're trying to tell with it. And hey, if you love digging into words like this, you should totally check out the TalkWord mobile app. You can actually create your very own English word explanation podcasts with our 2 super friendly hosts. It's a really fun way to explore the power of language. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today on TalkWord.
Unrewarded genius is practically a cliché.
You know, sometimes a cliché is finally the best way to make one's point.